I was living in Washington, D.C. when the financial crisis started to unfold, I realized that there was a pretty great need out there for some kind of an explanation for the political system. Not what was going on in the financial system, because we had a lot of that in the news, but really why was the political system and why was our government responding to the crisis in the way that it did? The content of the book is organized in four main sections. The first is a historical section that really takes us back to the Revolutionary War and the evolution of American political culture in the area of finance. And what we see is a country that's very uncomfortable with the concentration of power in one institution. We have state governments, we have federal governments, but also the lack of comfort with the banks themselves, going back to the first Bank of the United States, and many of the original colonies and states had problems with banks. And so understanding this lack of comfort with both of these types of institutions during the Civil War and then into the Great Depression and into the deregulation period of the 1970s, to try to understand how we got the system that we got, because it didn't just come from one era or another era. Then the next section of the book looks inside the agencies and the institutions themselves. So inside Congress, inside the congressional committees, inside the presidential administrations, inside the Treasury Department, inside the Federal Reserve, because each of these entities has their own internal dynamic, but also a way that they interact with each other. Some relations are good, what makes relations bad. The third section of the book tries to put the machine in motion, and I try to do this in two ways. First of all, in the normal course of the business cycle, so the normal ebb and flow of business activity in all capitalist economies. But then, what happens when the system is in a crisis? How does the political system respond? And here I look at specifically the specifics of the financial crisis in 2008, but also moving into the extended crisis in Europe. The fourth section adds the international layer. So when we talk about topics like regulatory arbitrage and the competition of agencies, we have something new, since the world has become increasingly, and particularly finance has become global, that there's this added layer of international financial institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, the Basel Committee, the Group of 20. And so these kinds of agencies are their own actors in the system, and also the role of the euro, since the euro has become an international player. The whole goal here is really not to give answers to the very weighty problems that exist in the governing finance in the world community, but to give people a roadmap to understand how to see the comprehensive system so that they can make up their own minds about where they think the best work needs to be done in the future.